Hey everyone, and welcome to another video in this rewriting crash course series. Now, if you're interested in working with me one-on-one to fix your screenplay, there is a link below where you can book a call and talk to me about that. Without further ado, let's get into the video here. So last episode, what I talked about was looking at your scenes on like the grander scale, right? What's the point of the scenes? Do they actually work in your structural flow? Do they work with the rest of the story? And then we also looked at pivotal scenes, right? Like what actually is happening in your pivotal scenes, like in the major shifting turning points in your story. And so again, we talked about sort of 3 levels of stakes here. There's the external stakes, there's the internal stakes, and there is the philosophical stakes. So what I want to talk about today is how these actually play out in a story. And I also want to talk about something that's essentially what I'm calling sort of scene energy flow, right? So like what is actually happening? What are the small pieces that are turning your scene and moving the conflict forward as we are going to the actual point of the scene at the end, right? This is kind of what I talked about in the previous episode, what actually is taking place when we start here and actually get to the bottom here. This is what we're going to be looking at today. So I have some examples that we're going to be talking about, and I'm going to specifically be talking about an example that is not a pivotal scene, kind of looking at what does a non-pivotal scene look like and what elements of, the 3 elements of conflict are actually in a non-pivotal scene. And then I'm going to look at some more pivotal scenes and look at how they are actually looking at all 3 of these stakes within that. Now, what I want you to also remember is, so your external stakes are very much plot-based stakes, right? These are the character wants something, some sort of external goal, we're going after that, and we're having conflict about getting that. And that's what we're looking at with external stakes. Internal is usually relationships, character emotions, character feelings, right? So a character has a relationship with another character, right? That's more so internal stakes. Or a character is worried about that the other character respects them. That's another element of internal stakes. And then we have philosophical stakes, which would be character beliefs about the world and how those are potentially challenged in a particular scene. Okay, so I have a few different scenes that we're going to look at today that are going to be handling these ideas right here. And what we're going to be talking about is sort of the flow of the scene and what's actually happening as that scene is playing out. So this first scene that I have here, this is a scene from Peaky Blinders, and this is between Tommy and Alfie Solomons. They are both sort of mob guys doing their own thing, and in this scene, Tommy is coming in because he wants to make an alliance with Alfie. That's the point of the scene. That's what the character want is. We're gonna just kind of watch this take place and hopefully not get copy struck on this video.
You on your own?
Seems so.
Well, you're a brave lad, ain't you? You want to take a look at my bakery? We bake all sorts here, mate, yeah. Did you know we bake over 10,000 loaves a week? Can you believe it? We bake the white bread, we bake the brown bread, bake all sorts. You like to try some? Bread? Yeah?
All right.
Well, what would you like, brown or what?
Try the brown.
Brown, all right.
Not bad.
Not bad, not bad. It's fucking awful, that stuff. Fucking brown stuff is horrible, but it's for the workers, yeah.
Okay, so what has happened so far? Okay, what's actually going on? What is this story sort of flow that's happening, right? Essentially, both of these characters are saying, can we be honest with each other? Do you respect me? This sort of thing, right? So what Tom Hardy, his character Alfie, just did here is see if Tommy, Cillian Murphy's character, would actually be honest with him, right? And this is essentially just them understanding, trying to set a certain element of respect, right? So what we're kind of seeing here is the initial elements of the internal stakes, or the internal conflict, and what we're looking at is the dynamic between these two characters, right? Let's go ahead
White stuff now, that is for the bosses. Come look.
and then we can get into the main scene I want to look at, which
Well,
is here.
I've heard very bad things about you Birmingham people. Hey.
Okay, so here, Tom Hardy opens it up saying, "I've heard very bad things about you Birmingham people," right? He's immediately, what is he doing? He is challenging Tommy, and this is internal state. This is respect, right? A lot of this conversation, and this is not a pivotal scene, but a lot of this conversation comes down to the internal and the external stakes. So what we're watching here is essentially the characters are asking, can they respect each other to work together for an external goal, which we will get into here in a second.
You're all gypsies, right? So would you live in a fucking tent or a caravan?
Okay.
Again, he's challenging him, saying, I don't respect you.
I'm here to discuss business with you, Mr. Solomons.
Well, mum is for fun and fucking in it, so whiskey, that is business.
Let's talk first, eh?
So let's talk first, right? And again, we're looking at dialogue here. We're looking at the purpose of dialogue and the actual scene flow that's going on here. So when Tommy says, let's talk first, again, he's saying, no, you are going to respect me. Again, this whole scene is about respect, right? About are these characters going to be able to respect one another and be able to form their uneasy alliance to actually get something external done in the plot.
To yourself. They say you had your life saved by a policeman.
I have policemen on my payroll.
But I don't like policemen because policemen, they can't be trusted.
Mr. Sabini uses policemen all the time. That's why he's winning the war in London.
And now, this line by Tommy, Mr. Zabini uses policemen all the time, which is why he is winning the war in London, is a stab at Alfie's character. He is saying, how can I, essentially he's saying, look, you're sitting here asking or seeing if you can respect me. How can I respect you? You're losing your war.
And you are losing it.
War ain't over till it's over, mate. You win the war. I once carried out my own personal form of stigmata on an Italian. I pushed his face up against the trench and shoved a 6-inch nail up his fucking nose and I hammered it home with a duckboard. It was fucking biblical, mate.
Okay, so what is he saying? He is saying, I am a person to be feared and respected. I am a monster too. Be careful what you say to me. Again, so far we have not even gotten into the external stakes of this story or this scene really at all. All we're doing is focusing here, right? The characters are trying to decide whether or not they can respect each other.
So don't come in here and sit there in my chair and tell me that I'm losing my war to a fucking wop.
That war was a long time ago. You need to be more realistic.
Realistic, yeah? Realistic.
Well, if you weren't losing the war, then you wouldn't send me the telegram.
Really? You forget your fucking telegram. Your telegram just said hello. It's very simple. You want to sell me something. What?
Okay, so now we have our first external conflict line of dialogue here, where he says, you want to sell me something, what is it? right? So finally, they have decided that at the very least they can respect each other enough to have a conversation about what they're actually here for. And now we're talking about the external plot conflict.
We joined forces. Fuck off.
We join forces. So this is the point of the scene, right? Tommy wants to ally with Alfie.
No, categorical. Fucking ridiculous.
Mr. Solomons, your distillery provides 1/10 of your income. Protection is another 10% of the rest you make from the racetracks. I know you keep a gun in the drawer. I know you keep it beside the whiskey. I know you offer a deal or death. I know what I'm saying makes you angry, but I'm offering you a solution. You see, Mr. Sabini is running all your bookies off your courses. And he's closing down premises that take your run. And people don't trust your protection anymore.
You're the bloke who shot Billy Kimball, right?
So, what is Tommy doing here? He is continuing to convince Alfie to ally with him. It's really that simple, right? And so then this comes into the dialogue element. Okay, how do you actually have this scene play out? When you understand what the purpose of the scene is, which is internally these characters must see if they can respect each other, and then two, externally, Tommy is here to make an alliance with somebody who does need his help, but doesn't want to take his help, then great. Now, finally, you can have fun as the writer and think about how does this scene actually play out? How does the dialogue flow and stay on task, but move the story forward, and we can see and feel the characters, right? Now we get to spend time with the characters. Now we get to see who Alfie Solomons is in this scene, how he reacts to things, how he talks, how he speaks, what he's doing. And the actors, of course, play into this too. I mean, these are two world-class actors in this scene, but ideally, you have enough of this on the page that they actually understand what they're working with when they get into the scene, and now they're having this conversation. And they understand the pieces of their lines of dialogue and how they relate to the different levels of conflict in your story.
You did, you fucking shot him. That's you. You fucking betrayed him, mate. Sorry, bid.
So this, now, Alfie is saying, I can't trust you. And now we're back to the internal stakes, right? He's saying, look, your idea for us to work externally may work, but internally, how do I know if I can trust you? So now we've moved from respect to trust, right? Again, a lot of this scene is internal stakes here.
Entirely appropriate to do what I'm thinking in my head to you right now.
I can offer you 100 good men, all with weapons, and a new relationship with the police.
External.
Intelligence. Intelligence is a very valuable thing, isn't it, my friend? Usually it comes far too fucking late. They said I shot you already, right? In the fucking face. And the bullet goes bone, mush, bone, cabinet, bone.
So this is, I mean, obviously it seems like kind of external that he's pointing a gun at him, but I think we all know he's not going to shoot him. So really what's happening here is internal stakes again. How do you handle a gun being pointed in your face? You know, are you somebody that scares easy or shakes easy, right? All these sorts of things is what's going on in this scene.
Over there. Which is a shame, isn't it? Because that cabinet's fucked now and I've got to get shot of it. So, what I do is this. It's fucking simple, mate. I cut that cabinet in half tonight. I do. I just cut the cabinet. I cut the cabinet literally in half, mate. And I take one half of the cabinet, right, and I put it into a barrel. And I take the other half of the cabinet in all its pieces and I put that into another barrel, right? And I send this barrel off to Mandalay and the other barrel off to somewhere like, I don't know, Timbuktu. You ever been?
No.
No? Would you like to go?
No.
Yeah, I always thought that you'd have a great big fucking gold ring in your nose. I'm sorry, Gordon. Tell us your plan.
So he's continuing to toy with him. Alfie is essentially saying here that, hey, I can kill you when I want to. And sure, we can. And at the end we hear, tell us your plan, right? So again, we're back to external. Tell us your plan. I agree to work with you, right? Again, this is the point of the scene, you know? And then also throughout this, he's saying, hey, I'm still in charge. Just because we're working together does not mean you're running things. So the end point, right? He says, tell us your plan. So the point of the scene is that they are going to work together, right? Externally, boom, that is the point. We get to the end of it. Everything that was getting us there, all this time right here, this was, can I trust you, right? Do we have mutual respect, right? Understanding how these play into the external conflict is what sets up the characters and builds this strong scene here, right? And so you hear the dialogue, and it is fantastic, and it's fantastically acted as well, right? So there's a lot of great things going for this scene. But what you need to understand is that the reason that you can actually put this scene on the train tracks and send it in the right direction and it doesn't get lost is because we understand the point of the dialogue that's being said. We understand the reason the characters are doing things and how it relates to the story. So every piece of the dialogue all the way through is handling their internal relationship and the external plan, and the internal relationship and the external plan. Back and forth and back and forth, and this is why this scene works. And we never leave this, right? We never stop for characters to talk about nothing. And that's really what happens with a lot of scenes that don't work, is that characters talk about nothing and there's no final point, right? The characters are always talking about one of these levels of conflict, and there's a point to the scene. Tell us your plan. They're going to work together, right? So the beginning of the scene, that was Tommy's goal. He comes in and Alfie agrees, okay, we can work together, right? So this is how you want to be thinking about your scenes, right? So then the question is, people come into like dialogue. It's like, how do you actually write dialogue like this? Well, first off, what I would say is, understand how your dialogue relates to these ideas, external, internal, philosophical. And then from there, it's going to be practice. It's going to be really knowing your characters. It's going to be getting more involved. It's going to be about finding the fun. It's also going to be about bringing the actors into this and saying, okay, an actor that you can trust, like Cillian Murphy, Tom Hardy, having them bring dialogue and bring words to life is going to create a continually stronger scene and overall story that you're going to have. Now, in the next episode, what we're going to do is look at the exact same thing, but we're going to be looking at pivotal scenes, right? So essentially, looking at scenes that don't simply deal with external and internal stakes, but deal with this right here. The philosophical stakes in your story. I'll see you next time.